Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 15th chapter. But thou, O God, art gracious and true, long-suffering, and in mercy ordering all things. For if we sin, we are thine, knowing thy power. But if we will not sin, but we will not sin, knowing that we are counted thine. See, so if we sin, we know we are yours. We know that we belong to you. We know your power and of judgment, but also of mercy. But knowing that we're not going to sin. See, because we know that we are yours and we have to live a certain kind of way, being your people. For to know thee is perfect righteousness. Yea, to know thy power is the root of immortality. Because to know the power of the Lord, which comes by wisdom, you're going to follow the things that are pleasing unto the Lord, right? On to everlasting life. See, trusting, when you go to the time of the New Testament, when you trust and you believe in Yahushai, that is doing the will of the Father, because it is the will of the Father that Yahushai would come down and that those that would trust in him would gain immortality. So it all really comes down to knowing the power of the Lord and the obedience that you have to the Lord. For neither did the mischievous invention of men deceive us, nor an image that is their mischievous invention are their idols, nor an image spotted with diverse colors, the painter's fruitless labor. So no idol or no invention of idols or beautifully painted idol deceive us or would deceive us. The sight whereof enticeth fools to lust after it, right? So fools, on the other hand, upon seeing this idol that's, colored and painted and made a certain kind of way, they lust after it, entice them. And so they desire the form of a dead image that hath no breath. See? So they desire to worship this dead image. It's literally dead. It's not alive. That's what it means by having no breath. Both they that make them, they that desire them, and they that worship them are lovers of evil things, and are worthy to have such things to trust upon. So they are lovers of evil things, and they deserve to be caught up in idolatry, right? They deserve to worship idols, because the fate of worshiping idols will come upon them. For the potter, tempering soft earth, fashioneth every vessel with much labor for our service, right? So you have a potter, and through his work, he makes vessels that are useful for people, right? Yea, of the same clay, he maketh both the vessels that serve for clean uses. So things like holding water, right? Holding, certain things that you keep in a vessel. And likewise, also such as serve to the contrary, right? Vessels for unclean uses, vessels to store waste or certain unclean things. But what is the use of either sort? The potter himself is the judge. See, the potter decides based on how he wants to make it, right? Okay, this is going to be used for this, or this is going to be used for that. And employing his labors lewdly, so instead of using his skills and his work to build useful things for us, he uses it lewdly. He maketh a vain god of the same clay. So he'll take that same clay, and instead of making a good vessel, a drinking cup or a bowl or a vase, he makes an idol. Even he which a little before was made of earth himself, right? That is this potter. And within a little while after returneth to the same. So Joaz coming basically made of earth, meaning you were born, right? You're of the earth, and you would soon return to it. You're here trying to make a god of clay. It says here, out when his life, let's read that again. Even he which a little before was made of earth himself, and within a little while after returneth to the same, out when his life was lent unto him, or his life was lent him, shall be demanded. See, so this is someone who, here the author Solomon is likening, your life to being lent onto you, right? You're like, it's borrowed, and eventually your time is going to be up. And he is spending his time and his skills and his labors instead building idols. when he himself is living a temporary life. Notwithstanding, his care is not that he shall have much labor, nor that his life is short. So he ain't, he's not even worried about the fact that, you know, he's ignoring the fact that he will die soon, right? And he has to basically labor in this life, this temporary life that he has. He's not even worried about that. But instead, right, but striveth to excel goldsmiths and silversmiths. So instead, he's making these fake idols, trying to compete with goldsmiths and silversmiths, and endeavoreth to do like the workers in brass, and counteth it his glory to make counterfeit things. See, and the counterfeit things being those fake gods. So instead, he's taking pride in crafting and making these fake gods. Rather than focusing on his life that's already short as it is, his heart is ashes. His hope is more vile than earth. Okay, and his heart going into his thoughts. Okay, it's worthless. They're vain like ashes. And his hope is more vile than earth. Because what is his hope? To make counterfeit things, to make idols out of clay. And his life of less value than clay. So he's worthless. For as much as he knew not his maker, and him that inspired into him an active soul, that's the Most High, inspired into him, meaning the Most High put within you a spirit, right, an active soul, and breathed in a living spirit. But they counted our life a time past, or Salakia, a pastime. So basically, instead of valuing the life you've been given, they look at it as like a pastime, right? Something that is, you know, when something is a pastime, it's just like a joy, like it's just, how to even put like a joy ride, right? It's just, you know, you just here to pass time. And our time here, a market for gain. So they look at their time on the earth as a place, as a time to just make gain. Similar to the mindset of the ungodly, going back to the second chapter. For they say, we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means. See, so no matter by whatever means we can, we got to get it how we get it. And so they look at, okay, the devising of idols, it makes money, we can make gain, and so they go ahead and they do that. For this man that of earthly matter maketh brittle vessels. A brittle vessel is, you know, it's like that word brittle in here. It's like something that can break easily. Right, hard, but liable to break or shatter easily. So, verse 13, right? For this man that of earthly matter maketh brittle vessels and graven images. So from the clay, he makes those vessels and graven images, which are idols, knoweth himself to offend above all others. So he knows what he's doing. And he knows that it's an offense. He knows that it's going to cause people to stumble. And all the enemies of thy people that hold them in subjection are most foolish and are more miserable than very babes. So now he's saying here, you got this idol maker here who knows what he's doing is an offense above all others, but there are some that are even more foolish than such an individual, which here goes into, as he says, the enemies of thy people that hold them in subjection. And he's going to start to segue into that as we get into, I believe, like the 15th or really 16th, 17th chapters, circling back to Egypt. But in any case, it says here, all the enemies of thy people that hold them in subjection are most foolish and are more miserable than very babes. They're dumber than babies, right? Not to insult babies, but to say like babies have a lower level of intelligence compared to an adult. For they counted all the idols of the heathen to be gods, which neither have the use of eyes to see, nor noses to draw breath, nor ears to hear. So they carved them out. They give them ears, they give them a nose, they give them eyes, but they can't see, they can't smell, they can't hear, nor fingers of hands to handle. And as for their feet, they are slow to go, means they can't move. For man made them, and he that borrowed his own spirit fashioned them. Your spirit is borrowed. You made these idols, but it says here, but no man can make a god like unto himself. You can't even make something like you want to talk about bowing down and serving an idol of your own hands. You can't even make one that's like you, that's living. For being mortal, he worketh a dead thing with wicked hands. Worketh a dead thing means he creates an idol, which is dead, it's not living, with his wicked hands. For he himself is better than the things which he worshipeth. You see that? Whereas he lived once, but they never. So how are you going to bow down and worship something that you are better than? It's not even, it never even gets to live once. You, on the other hand, at least you get to live. Verse 18, yea, they worshipped those beasts also that are most hateful. For being compared together, some are worse than others. So here, going into the idols, because they're based off of different creatures, right, that they worship. So here it's saying they worship animals that people normally find disgusting. That's the most hateful, okay, or inferior, right? And when you compare them, because you have some certain animals that are more preferred above others. He's saying here, at least pick an animal that's respected. You worshiping reptiles and animals that people look at as I wouldn't even want to be close to that. People will have like a cat as a pet, right? People will look at like a lion or or a leopard or a cheetah. All right, cool, but not saying cool for it to be an idol, but like that's a cool animal. You out here worshiping Komodo dragons and freaking lizards, like them lizards that be on the wall bopping their heads, Anyway, verse 19, it says, neither are they beautiful so much as to be desired in respect of beasts. These animals that you're building your idols after and worshiping, they're not even considered like of all the creations, they're some of the least desirable ones, basically, right? But they went without the praise of God and his blessing. So I'm going to read this in the GNTD, right, verse 19 here. It says, even as animals, actually, I'm going to start at verse 18. Some people worship the most disgusting animals, including even the least intelligent ones. Even as animals, they are not attractive enough to make anyone want them. God himself passed them by when he put his approval and blessing on the rest of creation. Yeah, and it's a it's a figure of speech, but it's just basically saying that that's to emphasize how undesirable they look or they are, let alone worshiping them. And that brings us to the end of the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 15th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.